Good morning, spectacular student Indonesia.
Good morning, sir.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen.
Sabahul khair.
Sabahul khair.
Selamat pagi pelajar hebat Indonesia.
Pagi, luar biasa.
Belujang Enji. Sugeng Enji. How do you do? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
How are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you, sir? I'm very well, thank you. What do you do today? I speak English today. What do you do today?
I speak English today.
I teach English today. What did you do last week? Spoke. I spoke English last week. What did you do last week?
I spoke English last week.
I taught English last week. What have you done since 3 years ago? I have spoken English since 3 years ago. What have you done since 3 years ago? I have spoken English since 3 years ago. I have taught English since 3 years ago. What had you done for 3 years? I had spoken English for 3 years. I had taught English for 3 years. What are you doing now? I am speaking English now. Together, what are you doing now?
I am speaking English now.
I am teaching English now. What were you doing last week? I was speaking English last week. What were you doing last week?
I was speaking English last week.
I was teaching English last week. What will you do next week? I will speak English next week. What will you do next week?
I will speak English last week.
Next week, I will teach English next week. What would you do last night? I would speak English last night. What would you do last night? I would speak English last night. I would teach English last night. What have you been doing since 3 years ago? I have been speaking English since 3 years ago. What have you been doing since 3 years ago?
I have been
speaking English since 3 years ago. I have been teaching English since 33 years ago. What had you been doing for 3 years? I had been speaking English for 3 years. What had you been doing for 3 years?
I
had been speaking English for 3 years. I had been teaching English for 33 years. Magic finger. Present. Future. Perfect. Continuous. Present perfect continuous. Past. Future. Perfect. Continuous. Past perfect continuous. I speak English today. I spoke English last week. I have spoken English since 3 years ago. I had spoken English for 3 years. I am speaking English now. I was speaking English last week. I will speak English next week. I would speak English last night. I have been speaking English since 3 years ago. I have been speaking English for 3 years. Okay, listen please. The first Prime Minister of British, Margaret Thatcher, said that what your thought for they become your words. What your words for they become your action. What your action for they become your habits. What your habit for they become your character. What your character for they become your destiny. In other words, what you think you become. Perhatikan, apa yang ada dalam pikiranmu akan jadi ucapan. Ucapan jadi doa. Ud'uni astajib lakum. Kata Allah, mintalah kau kepadaku, pasti akan aku kabulkan. Minta pintar, minta kaya, minta sehat, minta bahagia, minta jadi pemenang, minta jadi orang sukses. Minta selamat dunia dan akhirat. Dengan kata lain, apa yang ada dalam pikiranmu, Anda menjadi. Yang terbiasa membaca Al-Quran, maka Anda ditakdirkan menjadi seorang hafiz dan hafizah. Yang biasa latihan olahraga, main bulu tangkis, jadilah Taufik Hidayat. Yang biasa main sepak bola, jadilah Lionel Messi. What do you think will become? Apa yang Anda inginkan maka akan menjadi kenyataan. Dream come true. Good morning, spectacular student Indonesia.
Good morning, sir.
I am success.
I'm success.
You are success.
You are success.
We are success.
We are success.
Yes.
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 In Arabic, ana najih.
Ana najih.
Wa antum najih.
Wa antum najih.
Wa nahnu najih.
Wa nahnu najih.
Amin.
Amin. Amin.
I can.
I can.
I think I can.
I think I can.
I can.
I can. I can.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I can. I can.
I can. I can. I can.
Saya bisa.
Saya bisa.
Saya pikir saya bisa.
Saya pikir saya bisa.
Saya yakin saya bisa.
Saya yakin saya bisa.
Pasti bisa.
Pasti bisa.
Bisa banget.
Bisa banget.
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 Good morning, spectacular student Indonesia.
Good morning, sir.
Ila liqa ma salama. Sayonara. Arigato. Shishi. Thank you.